bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear, and we've got Kevin Galerno back in the hot seat here. It's been a while, obviously, with the pandemic and everything going on, us getting finally back on the ice and stuff like that. It's been a while since we've had a chance to kind of sit down and do this and chat a little bit, but with hockey starting back up where we are here in southwestern Ontario, up in Canada, it's been a different start, and kind of we'll chat a little bit about that as well, but first of all, how have you been? Anything new since the pandemic at all, or no?
Nothing new. No, I'm just kidding. No, I have big news. Big news. We're back on the ice, and I have a son. That's
crazy.
Those are the 2 big things. So yeah,
you are officially a crazy father.
100%. Yeah, 100%. He's actually our first guest today.
He can start holding his neck up now. He's like looking around a little bit.
Yeah, so
but only a couple weeks old, right?
3 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks or just over 3 weeks. So yeah, we're excited, and he's good, and we're, I don't know, it's it. Just one day at a time. You know, people are always like, how do you get them to like, you know, we've talked about this and you mention this all the time. Like, how do you get them from like 7 to 17? Like, how do you get from like 7 days to 7 weeks? Like, you know, like at the first week, I'm like, or the first couple of days at home, you're like, how do you get to that next day? Holy.
You know what? The kid's going to be fine. It's you and your wife.
Oh, totally.
7 weeks.
Totally, yeah. But no, it's been pretty good. So
yeah. Now, is it more of a grind? I know it's early on, but even still, like, I mean, it's not like you can ever just like send them for a sleepover or anything yet, right? So you're on, 24 hours a day, especially your wife. But has it been like what you kind of thought it was going to be, or is it a little bit different, or is it harder, easier?
I mean, I have like, really old friends like you that have kids, and, and I have 3 sisters who have kids, and so I thought I was like knew what was coming, and everyone says you don't know, and I'm like, no, I don't know totally, but I have a good idea.
Yeah, I kind of know. I got some nephews.
I get it. Everyone says it's the the crazy feeling, and mentally like you just have this, you're overcome with this new sense of whatever. Everyone, maybe a little different for everyone, and you don't know until you see that kid. Like you really, really don't. But no, it hasn't. I haven't felt overwhelmed. This is for us. Like, I think this is a good time. Like, selfishly, during the season, we sometimes are on the ice all night. In the mornings and at night. Right now, we're kind of home dinner time, and so it's. I think it's great for me to be there at night. But it's it hasn't been anything too overwhelming. It's been pretty fun.
Oh, it's good.
The summer's awesome. Obviously, my wife's at home, and I definitely look forward to getting home every day, just for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty fun.
It's like having like the best like Christmas gift you ever got, like that cool remote control car that you can't wait to go play with.
Yeah.
You got like a live little human that you get to go and
but that one I could just like put in the drawer when I'm sick of it, and I'm good just to go take a nap or
Batteries
go do something else.
Just
leave it for a day or two. Not this one.
Yeah.
This new toy doesn't stop.
Yeah, very true.
It's good. But now that I've been a dad for like 3.5 weeks, I pretty much know everything. You got smarter for sure. You guys can just send in your questions and I'll be able to answer them. No.
It's amazing though. It's like when your kid gets drafted to the OHL, all of a sudden you become the smartest hockey dad in the world.
Totally.
Same thing. You have a kid and basically
you know it.
And then you start looking at other people and you just judge them. Like, when, how you know your kid? Like, the nice thing is though, you have a card now. So when you are talking to a parent and you're giving parent advice now,
a little bit of a background. Yeah.
I'm a dad.
Yeah, I'm a dad.
I have a kid.
I'm a background.
I know what you're going through right now. Yeah. Hold your kid. It's irrelevant. Yeah. I have a child, so I get it. I get what you're going through.
He's 21. No, like 21 days. 21 days.
Yeah, exactly. So return to hockey. Obviously, we got.
What have you been up to? What's been
for
going
me?
On?
Not a ton. I mean, obviously with the business getting shut down, that was obviously weird and kind of awkward. Not awkward, just weird. It was weird being home, and I hung out with the kids a lot. My wife still had to work, so I was home with them, almost every day doing schoolwork. It was awesome. Like, it was wicked to like, we were buddies. I was like my buddy squad. We every day, but my dog passed during this time too, which sucked. But I mean, before that, every day we'd go and we'd, take Juno for a walk every morning, and we'd do maybe a workout. They'd play and whatever. And then we'd do a little bit of schoolwork. Schoolwork was a grind though. Like, just, it's hard. Like, and I know teachers have it rough, don't get me wrong, but it's hard as a parent to like hammer your kids to do homework and get on the iPad and check lesson plans. And I found there's a big variety of teaching, as far as some teachers were unbelievable, like holding small group Zoom calls and really engaged, and then some teachers kind of weren't as engaged, and they may have their own stuff going on with family and whatever, right? So it was definitely a challenge, and I'm sure a lot of parents had the same thing. But other than that, it was good. Like a lot of time, and it's weird when you every single night, you talk to your wife, like, what do you got going on tonight? Like, nothing. Weekends, like, what do you got going? Like, nothing, nothing going on, right? Not visiting anybody, not seeing anybody, not. And then when the golf course is open, we got, an opportunity to get golfing, which is nice, at least once a week. And the girls, so it was, you kind of get, things slowly started to move a little bit, obviously. And then when we got, I shouldn't even say, I used to kind of, just so everyone kind of, just to put this all in perspective, you shut down a hockey business. I think a lot of people had to tweak what they were doing and kind of adapt quickly on, how do we stay relevant? How do we, and so we started doing more videos and getting those out for free. And we started doing some virtual lessons for shooting and puck handling and things like that. And those went really well and kept us busy for a while, which was good. And then finally we got ice opened up kind of middle of June for the NHL guys that were returning to play. And then it went into junior guys, and then went into, obviously, young players, boys and girls and stuff. So overall it's been good. And then personally, obviously lost our dog, which this one of those things, man, when you lose a dog, like I've lost a childhood dog, but I was away, I was older, I was probably 20, 21, living away from home. It was, felt terrible. But when you have your dog that's your own dog, your family dog, that's your family dog, your buddy loses a dog or a cat, you're like, hey man, I'm really sorry, man. I honestly, it sucks. I feel really bad about it. But then when you go through the process of putting your own dog down, like, man,
it wasn't no accident. It was just,
she's just old, and she had a growth, a tumor, and so there's a lot of different things. But so we kind of had a day and talked to the vet, obviously, and put her down. But now, like, I should be calling all my buddies that put dogs down. Like, I'm so sorry, man. I had no idea how hard that was and how much it, but yeah, other than that, everything's been pretty good. Doing some rentals on the house, which is amazing. Try to find a carpenter or even wood right now. Like, it's nuts, right? Like, everyone seems to be doing renos or it's crazy right now. So, but other than that, everything's been good. I mean, being on the ice has been awesome, and being, getting that wheel turning has been really, really good. In our area, we're stuck to small groups. So we started off with basically 5s and then 10s, 15s. Now we're at 20s. So 20 people on the ice basically, which has been good. And overall, I think the even though the protocols are a little bit different as far as getting dressed in the parking lot, and there's no locker rooms for the longest time, and now you got to wear a mask coming in and out of the rink, and parents aren't allowed to spectate. So there's been a lot of changes, I think, for the kids and the parents. I think on the ice is the best because it's kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
As what it was before. You're doing skill development, you're doing, working on different things. So I think that's been nice for the kids and for us as well. I think the parents not being able to watch has been a bit of a sticky point for some families. And then, no locker rooms.
Now for the kids, as the guy that's been on the ice, and we've talked about this, like, awesome. There's not all the kids, but there's definitely a noticeable difference in the kids, I find, from
I want to stress
some of the young ones, like,
for sure.
And I'm not trying to offend any parents out there. It's not everyone, but like, the kids are more relaxed.
Yeah,
they're not looking up in the stands at anyone. If they make a mistake, they make a mistake. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? They're not. Yeah, I find the kids, especially those not super young or older, like they're in that like sweet spot in the middle area where all the parents think they're getting drafted next year at 9 and 10 years old.
Yeah.
I just find that they're much more relaxed and having way more fun,
I agree.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And on the topic of, not on the topic of that, but just talking about parents, okay? And you mentioned something that I didn't go through, but teaching your kids. Now, you teach for a living, you instruct for a living, not school, and you found that you were like, wow, this is like eye-opening, and I think there was a lot of parents out there that had to teach their kids all of a sudden, whether they got their lessons plans or they just wanted to, maybe they weren't getting lessons plans and they wanted to keep their kids doing something. And I think there was probably a lot of parents that went through a thing that was like, whoa, this is, they're used to coming home at 3, 4, 5 o'clock at night and having their kids a little bit of homework, social time, whatever. But now all of a sudden they're with their kids like at home for 6, 7 hours during like the meat of the day where they're teaching. And I think there was a lot of eyes opened up that maybe not every parent is going to be the perfect hockey coach or the perfect teacher, where they're like, it's not, not as easy as everyone thinks, So, and you probably said the same thing. Like, that's not for you. That's teaching.
Well, and I think, for just me personally, like, I wanted my kids to do something every day school wise, whether it was reading a book or doing some math or doing some of the lessons that they had from the teachers. And just to keep their mind engaged. You know what I mean? We were getting activity, we were walking, we were doing stuff outside. That was all fine. But I would really wanted them to, you know, and you know, some of this stuff was just good tasks to do just to like get it done. And I know a lot of parents were on both sides. Like you talk to some parents and they got their whole day. Like when this first happened, you saw everything online about like, hey, check out our, you know, our schedule for the day, or hey, buy this schedule for the day, or whatever. It was like, you know, everything laid out. I looked at that. I'm like, this is ridiculous, you know? And plus I really felt for the parents that had to work from home and then do this on like you know, had the kids as well. Cause it's a lot, man. Especially if you had kids, you know, kind of under that 10 years old or 11 years old that aren't so independent. I mean, you're trying to work from home and you know, you got kids fighting, you got less, it was a mess. So a lot of parents just mailed it in.
And their kids are used to a routine. Like it's easier. It would be easier at school in a setting when they're at home in their pajamas, eating breakfast at 9:30 instead of 7:30. Like they're not ready to work, you know, at home, sitting on their couch. Like that couldn't have been fun. No, this isn't the parents' fault. This is like, this couldn't have been 100%. A great experience for everyone.
Yeah.
So,
and I think too, like during that pandemic, one thing I noticed was there was a really good opportunity. And I'm not saying I took advantage of this 100%, but a really good opportunity to like basically connect with your kids if you're home with them, number one, but then also teach them some lessons and be around them and get a chance to get to know them a little bit better and hopefully, you know, steer them the right way, you know, as far as maybe they're, you know, just being more disciplined, having chores to do, having a bit of routine. Like, and I think that's one thing that, you know, we got into a little bit with my kids, which worked out well. And the better the routine was, and any, you know, mom or dad will tell you this, that's really like type A, like my wife, I guess, and scheduled, the better the routine is, the easier it is.
Yeah.
You know, when things went awry and we had days where it was just like in your pajamas till 12, like gong show, that day was just a write off, you know, but when we had a bit of a routine, we got up early, we, you know, went for a walk, it was way better, you know? So I think that was really, really important. And on the hockey side alone, I mean, we saw it when kids got back on the ice. So everyone was kind of in the same boat. You had some kids sneaking off to Toronto or sneaking off to wherever to skate a little bit. But for the most part, everyone's under 5 skates. So everyone's just coming in either no skates at all for a couple months or, you know, maybe a couple skates. But what a difference you saw from the kids that just did something over the pandemic and we had a couple kids that we had one kid that lasted 10 minutes. We had a couple kids puke and they weren't hard skates. Like these are skill development skates that they had done 15 of, you know, pre-pandemic. Every 2 weeks they're doing one, you know, and now they couldn't last through 10,
and that's not even
minutes.
that's not even like older kids. We're not talking like 16, 17-year-old kids, young ones.
Yeah.
That were, you know, shouldn't have been in that much trouble after 20, 30 minutes of exercise.
And then some kids, like you saw their shot got better. You saw, you know, and I think some kids took advantage of it or some families took advantage of it where they, you know, the kids wanted to do it or the parents pushed them a little bit. I don't know, but they got on rollerblades. They shot pucks. They worked out if they, you know, as they got older and stuff. And I mean, some of the kids came back and they looked phenomenal and they, you know, they actually looked, you know, I don't want to say way better, but they looked like dialed in, you know, they looked like they almost did before. So I think it was obviously a terrible circumstance for everybody, and not even talking about businesses and all the illnesses and deaths. That's, you know, crazy, but just selfishly talking, I guess, more with the hockey side of it and the sports side of it. It was kind of an opportunity for people to separate themselves, right?
Yeah.
And just see kind of who's in, who's out, who's got that work ethic, who doesn't. And I know we saw it firsthand when the kids got back on the ice and it was like, whoa. And I think some of the kids was probably a good wake up call. Like, man, maybe I didn't do enough. And some of the kids I know, if the pandemic happened again tomorrow where everything got shut down, they would do the exact same thing. Right? On both sides of it. The kids that worked out and trained and did their stuff would do it. And the kids that didn't would do probably the same thing, you know? So I think even as a parent, sometimes you got to look at that and be like, okay, you know, and you almost assess where your kid's at and like maybe you got to motivate a bit more. Maybe you got to push some buttons a little bit more. Maybe you've got to set up a bit more of a schedule to get them to just be active. It doesn't have to be hockey related, but just, you know, and if you're not going to do that, that's fine, but that's what you're going to get, you know?
Or if they're older, you know, those for those younger kind of middle-aged kids, but if they're older kids, like if they're stop pushing them. Yeah. If they don't want to do it. When things go back to normal, stop throwing your money away to these 16, 17, whatever old age kids that don't want to do it.
For sure.
You know, see, as a parent, you know, I know everything. Like I want them to do something. You know, they got to do something just to stay out of trouble, maybe. But they don't. If they don't want to do this stuff, then find something that they want to do. Yeah. No, definitely. And I think that's a really important point, right? A good opportunity to kind of assess. I was saying even like for business and for family. So going back to what I was going to finish my sentence here with assess, but it was a bit of a stress test for businesses to see where you're at as a business. Yeah. If you're, you know, paycheck to paycheck as a business and rent to rent as a business, you're going to have, it was tough.
And there was also, I think, a stress test on families where are you as a family? And even as a husband and wife, not easy. I drank way more. I probably ate way more. I did work out more because I had more time. So I was probably more active, But then, there could have been a lot more opportunity to get in to fight, to, buck heads with your wife. You're stressed, you're frustrated, you're not working, or your business is suffering, or there's so many stresses that went on through this whole thing that it kind of does stress test families a lot. Where are we at, even financially, number one, with our relationships, with our wife or our kids or our in-laws, or, I haven't, my sister just had a child. I didn't see her pregnant or I haven't seen her child yet. Like
Crazy.
So, they're looking at now she lives a couple hours away and that's on us. We didn't see her before the pandemic, but as soon as the pandemic hit, probably a couple months before, and then once the pandemic hit, they were really isolating and, we don't want to have anything go wrong, obviously. So that's 9-10 months that I saw her when she was originally pregnant, but not big bump or anything like that. So
yeah, but even still with that, you're looking at those last 4 months, when you consider someone pregnant, you know what I mean? I get what you're saying. Those first little bit is not.
Yeah.
You
want to see the belly, exactly, the ankles, right? And the feet,
how miserable they are.
Yeah, for sure,
uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but that's stressful for some mothers or grandmothers, and so there's a lot that obviously affects people, and I think where it's going to be, everyone knows this, but it's going to be a long-term effect. You know what I mean? But we've been very, very fortunate as far as just so far. So
I don't want to say positives, but it's because there's not as a whole, there's not positive things that come out of it, but it's the situation. So even look at you and your kids, you took out some things out of it that found a way. Hey, kids, we're going to get into a routine. We're going to exercise. You worked out and they played, maybe didn't matter what they did, but they were playing, they were doing, there's some things even on, my wife and I, we like each other enough and we're, we got along well. And there was definitely some things spending so much time together. I honestly think we're stronger now because we spent so much time together and talked about a bunch of things, or you spending way more time with your kids than you would have during those school months.
For sure.
There's definitely some positives that were taken out of a bad situation. Yeah. So it's important for hopefully families, as many of them that were able to take some of those positive experiences out of this, I think.
Yeah, so. No, definitely. And with my Budsy squad, so my daughter and my son, they learn new life lessons. And that was one of the things that I wanted to teach them. I want to teach them new life lessons. So we're sitting at the dinner table the one day and I think my daughter, Hallie, goes, we were talking about something and somebody, telling on somebody, tattletaling. You can't tattletale. And my daughter goes, yeah, snitches get stitches. Yeah. My wife looks at me like, what's going on?
Where's she?
Hon, this is a life lesson. And they need to know that if you're going to be a snitch, you're going to get stitches. And then there's another one. We were going, I think, for a walk. And
I can picture your wife right now just going, shaking her head at you.
But they get it. The kids get it, man. So then there's another time where I think we went for a bike ride and son wanted to cut it short. My legs are burning, going up a hill or whatever, right? You got to put the work in. You have to put the work in, man. Whether it's schoolwork, whatever it is, kind of one of those things. If you're not going to put the work in, you're not going to get, you're not going to have success. You're not going to have those. Put the work in. Don't say anything. Just put the work in. So I kept hammering this for a couple of days, and then we're biking again at one point. I think it was my daughter going up this little hill. It wasn't crazy, but it's about 45 for an hour, but it's not a big deal. But she's biking and kind of almost in tears, right? And I'm biking beside her, and I'm grabbing her seat every once in a while, giving her a little push up, and she's like, put the work in. Put the work in. And I was like,
so pumped.
Yeah, I was like, yes, Hal, that's it. Put the work in. Come on, you can do this. She made it to the top, but it was funny. So whether they listen to these or that listen to that lesson and keep it, I don't know. But hopefully, if I keep pounding it at home until they're 25, they'll get it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, but it was.
How great is it? And I'm picture. I wouldn't have been able to say this question 3 weeks ago. I don't think I'd be able to ask this, but to see something like that you've kind of instituted, take shape, them say, whether or not she's half joking or serious or really gets it, but she heard you say heard something that was being said or being taught and sort of got it. How great is that?
It's super cool. And to relate it back to hockey, obviously, because we're talking about our families here, but relate it back to hockey. No, but even if a kid gets a new skill, let's say it's a crossover, it's a turn, it's a snapshot and stride, it's whatever it is, and they get it and they come in for me as a coach, I love it. I'm like, you got it, man. And then they consistently get it. You're like, yeah, you got it. And kids, same thing. If you're a kid comes up to you, you know, and listen to something that you said, and then, you know, it's like gets it and is applying it. As a parent, you're like, man, okay, that's a small win, you know. But again, they're young, so let's see what happens when they're 17. She maybe tell me to go pound sand, you know, get out of my face, Dad, go pound sand. So I don't know. We'll see how it all kind of plays out. But I want to talk quickly though as well about kind of the whole return to play hockey for even the NHL. So we'll start kind of quickly at the NHL, but we had a really good group of guys in our area and kind of traveling in a little bit that were going back to play in the bubbles. And, you know, now obviously NHL's full on, which is awesome. And that was really cool to see. I don't think, you know, just being very honest, I don't think any of those guys were super excited to leave the situations they were in right now and in Canada and safe and to go to the States and play hockey. You know, I think business wise, they understood it and they understood why they had to do it. But it was very touch and go all the way up until the end. Like we're talking even like 3-4 days, 5 days out, guys didn't even know, like I'm supposed to leave Friday, but who knows? And then all of a sudden guys started going like it was, hey, where's so-and-so? He's gone. So we kind of guys just started taking off and
or going. Even other guys like, hey, see you later. And then all of a sudden, like they come back tomorrow. Like, no, we got sent, you know, we're here. Somebody tested positive. Like we're back. We're here for
that's right.
Week. Like both ends of it happened. It was
it happened in St. Louis where guys, they had to shut down. So guys couldn't go. But it was, and then it was cool to see how excited they were to get back on the ice. So number one, you know, you think of these, you know, NHL guys that, you know, are live a great life right now for the most part. But man, when we got that first ice session, I think it was a Friday, and the guys all came in. Like a couple of them were like, man, I taped my stick last night.
I know, I couldn't sleep last night. Yeah, it was so cool.
It was really cool.
We were feeling the same way. Like I was like
couldn't wait,
excited
man.
to get back on these because that was the first group. You know, they were out like a week or two before any junior players or minor hockey players, right? So it was just cool to see that excitement. And then I think once they got into it and then, you know, obviously everyone was kind of kept up to speed on the business side of it, what's going to happen and how this whole thing could potentially play out. I think then they were more bought into playing. And then, you know, now that they're there, I was texting with a couple of the guys that are playing in the playoffs right now and just say, hey, how's it going? Congrats on moving on. And they all seem pretty pumped and pretty happy and things are pretty good, you know, aside from being away from family and kids and things like that. For the most part, I think it's going to get long. Obviously it's going to get long and probably a little bit boring. But at the same time, it's been pretty cool. Yeah, it was like a fantasy camp though. All those guys hanging out. Like now it's a little more serious with actual playoffs. But like, I would think some of them maybe were not as excited as they, you know, we would have thought they were to go back. But they probably didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. And I definitely didn't think it was going to be as good as it is. Like it is. I think that's over the top. The production, everything they have for them. Like. I'm not in the bubble, just like from a viewer's perspective, I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And you know more, you know, if you were talking to some of the guys.
Yeah, no one's exactly everyone's, you know, everyone that I've spoke to or just text with, obviously, but it's been good. Like they're having fun, and now they're in the money rounds, basically. Like, you know, no, I don't want to say the other rounds were meaningful, but the playoffs. And so, I think they're excited about that, right? And they're playing some meaningful hockey now and kind of see what happens. And the NHL, it's been crazy to see what's happened in the first round or the elimination round, I should say. And then even the first games of the first round, like it'll be pretty cool because you're going to see some teams that are going to pop off a little bit that we probably didn't think were going to be maybe that good. Or, you know, let's say that the season had just played out normally, they probably wouldn't make the second, third round. But I think we're going to see some teams upset and some teams kind of move on that we didn't think would make it, you know? Yeah.
Which I think is great for hockey.
Yeah.
You know, to have some fresh blood in there, some different teams. But that's saying that, and every Toronto Maple Leafs fan is shaking their head at us right now. But other than that, everyone else is probably agreeing. Yeah, and they got snubbed out of the first overall pick. So there's a lot going on there right now in Leafs Nation for sure. Not a good time to be part of Leafs Nation right now. Yeah, and then moving forward, I guess to minor hockey, it was really, really cool to see that NHL excitement to get back on the ice, and then you see the minor hockey excitement to get back on the ice, and even parents being like, I have something in my schedule. For sure. I
have something to go to today. This is awesome. You know, we've been home for months now, and this has been great. And overall, just the how accommodating some of the parents have been. You know, you're always gonna have your 1%ers that are gonna buck the system on why can't we stay and watch and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, parents are super understanding, and I know it's not easy even as a parent to send your kid to the rink for 9 skates or 10 skates over a month and never see him skate or never see her skate. That's kind of weird.
That's very tough. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's been overall.
But also,
it's been pretty smooth.
nobody you knew what the rules are before you signed up and before you paid your money, and
Right.
and nobody made you come to this.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I agree. You're always gonna have your 1%ers, but at the same time, like this is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, we're not making the rules. These just are the rules, and you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So I also have a bit of a hard time with that sometimes, just being like, hey, no problem. Like, yeah, you don't like it. I'm really, really sorry. This is just the way it is right now. These NHL guys, I'm sure, would love to not have to get dressed in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And they'd love to not have to get into their, fancy, shiny cars without showering.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'd love a shower, but they're doing it because that's the only thing they were excited to get back on the ice.
Yeah.
So that's the situation.
No, yeah, totally. And those guys were very
So good.
understanding,
So good
and
about it,
yeah, they were great, man. It was really good.
Yeah. But man, but there's the other side of the parents. Like, sometimes you go outside, whatever, you walk out there and there's parents with like lawn chairs pulled up and,
Yeah.
coffee mugs. I'm not asking what's in them. It's awesome. Their kids are on the ice for an hour or two and they're sitting out in the sun, relaxing. Like, just like us, they're probably excited to do something. That's a social outing for them. The kid
For
gets
sure.
to go on the ice. He's having fun. He's safe.
Yeah.
And they're out in the parking lot, distancing and talking to some other parents. Like, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool to see some of that. Saw like some parents out there, like in a picnic area with their other two kids, like, coloring, having lunch and like a little picnic out there, playing games, like in the parking lot. It was great. There was some other great things that would have come out of it, aside from just having somewhere to go, and which parents are probably pumped about.
No, for
But
sure.
yeah, I thought there was some good stuff.
But you do see both sides of that as well, right? You see the parents that take advantage or make maybe a poor situation into a good one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you see other people that are gonna complain and whine and be disgruntled about no matter what the situation is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and it is what it is. The other thing I wanted to touch on a little bit too is the whole return to play hockey for minor hockey right now, which is a bit up in the air. I know here there's no set plan on how it's going to happen, and what they're talking about right now is basically playing locally, trying to tier the kids. So you still have your kind of AAA kids with your AAAs, your AA's, your AA's, and so on, and then have them play against each other in basically maybe a 100 kilometer mile radius that you're going to be playing within those other teams and stuff like that. But nothing's really been etched in stone. And I feel bad for the kids that are coming up on draft years or maybe going to play junior and, have an opportunity of scholarships. I mean, I know the OHL pushed back to December 1st. I know a lot of the colleges, universities are January. There's a lot of stuff that's been pushed back. So I don't think anything's really going to start until, December, January, if the minor hockey even has a legit season, which I doubt they will. But now on that, you're going to have like already we're hearing it. You have two sides. Some parents are like, it's fine. Like, it is what it is. We'll roll with it. We'll roll with stuff for 3-4 months. We'll roll with this and see how it plays out. And then you have other parents that are like, I know in the Toronto area, they're basically saying, well, screw this. We're start our own league. We're going to start our own league. We're going to play 5-on-5 because they're doing it in other countries. They're doing it here. They're doing it there. We're going to do the same thing. So it's going to be, when this whole thing plays out in September, October, it's going to be really weird to see how the whole thing plays out. Because now you have parents that feel like they're going to be missing out because these teams and these players are going to be playing 5-on-5 and they're going to be doing that and we're not. And it's going to be really, really weird to see how this whole thing kind of gets dropped or picked up if it ends up going that way, But again, you've got these parents that are kind of driving the bus on this
It's all how you look at it. Like, yeah, it's not ideal. And I look back to, I'm 9 years old. I can think back to the team I played on and going to tournaments and it was fun and all that stuff. But it is what it is right now. I don't think it's the end of the world. And I'm with you. I think that the kids that are really losing out are those junior kids that are, trying to move on. Those kids that are those major midget kids that are trying to get into junior and the OHL next year and scholarships. Like, I think that's tough. That's a really bad year, bad timing, but what are they going to do? But look at the younger kids. Like, none of them are getting drafted next year. It could be a great year to set up some extra development. Just focus on the kids having fun. Take out a bunch of the politics out of the game for a year in terms of tryouts and cuts, and group the kids like you said, kind of caliber. Any way you group them and do a bunch of development for the year. For parents, that's 3 or 4 less trips to Toronto for tournaments at $1,000 to $1,500 a weekend. You know what I mean, with your family and hotels and food and going to the mall and all that stuff. So I think it's going to be okay. I really think it's not. It does suck for sure. for the kids, but I think it's going to be okay. I don't think any of these kids are going to be not able to play wherever they want to play in 4 or 5 years from now because of this year. If they do stuff, if they continue, if they want to do some extra stuff, or, go to wherever, however it's set up, their team or their group or their association, however it ends up working out, however it pans out, if they find a way to do some extra stuff, and if they want to do development, do some development. I think that's going to be okay. My biggest problem with any parents right now that are upset about this is, not all of them again, but a lot of them are up in arms about their kids going back to school, yet and at the opposite end of the spectrum, they're up in arms about their kids not playing hockey. Like, just, I don't care which side of the line you're on, but take a stand and just make it consistent. And that's, I know that every board at schools, they're making, each board gets to make their own decisions, Catholic, public, and then wherever you are, everyone's going to be different. But some of these parents that are like, no, we got to get full games and we got to do this and that, they're also the ones that won't send their kids to school.
Yeah,
So
it's weird, man. I
think it's a tricky. I think it's a thin line there between, if you're upset about this not being safe, then this probably isn't safe.
But this is part of the problem I find with hockey culture in minor hockey. Okay, so you have a coach who's a psycho and bags the kids and hard on the kids, and parents love it. Yeah. So this is great. This is awesome. Like, most parents, not all, but most. Imagine you had a teacher that was a psycho.
Totally.
Gas that person. They want him, they want him or her fired in a second. There was years ago, a coach got in a little bit of trouble got a DUI at a tournament. Whatever happened. That's fine. I ended up getting involved with the team. The parents are irate that they let the coach go. I'd say 80% of the players and the parents wanted this coach back, which is totally fine. Like, he was a good guy. He got whatever, bad decision, whatever happened, but they had to let him go for obvious reasons. Losing it. Now imagine you're on a school trip and your teacher just decides to go for a drive, whatever. The kids are chaperones, fine, but go for a drive, gets a DUI. Parents are like, no problem. We want him back. He's a great teacher. Yeah. I'll bring her back. She's great. Like, what? There's no way. So it's such a double standard that way. Like, I think these coaches should be, measured on how are they with the group? How are they at getting these kids better? How are they at developing? How are they at motivating? And, all that kind of stuff, right? And it's just, I don't know. We have this, most parents are level-headed and get it, but you have these, again, these outliers, or these parents that are on the rights and lefts that are just, it's unbelievable, man. And that's part of the problem, right? Is that now you're going to have some of these parents and some of these coaches driving this, let's get hockey going again. We got to play. A kid can't miss this year, And I think, man, the kids have basically had a 6-7 month off season, which has never happened before. Mm-hmm. And you could, if any parents are out there listening, like, man, I could leapfrog a couple kids, because we're not going to play normal hockey this year. So my kid could play wherever, AA, whatever, doesn't matter. But let's get him. Let's even just look at YouTube and learn some stuff off YouTube. Let's just build an outdoor rink this winter. Let's get him rollerblades, or let's get her shooting pucks, whatever it is, right? But you could leapfrog a bunch of people rather than just kind of going with the waves and just kind of following it, right? Like, start doing something. Put together a plan right now, a development plan. Get with a skills coach if you have to, or somebody that that's knowledgeable and has an idea of how to get better, And man, you could like come back in a year and a half. Let's say that everything resumes back in kind of the hockey season time of September to, March. Come back to that next set of tryouts the following year, whenever that is, and be a totally different player.
Totally.
And so I really hope people do take advantage of it, because again, we see it. A lot of these kids have really taken advantage of it. And I think it's important that through this pandemic and leading up to, let's say the season starts in November, if you went from, call it April, let's say March, I guess middle of March, but if you went end of March all the way through, like, that's a long time. So, but if you had some advice on it and you had someone helping you, okay, well, we're going to go hard for a month and a half. We're going to take a couple weeks of just kind of active recovery. And then we're going to hit it again right before things start up again. And then you're not going to play a full season. So games are not going to be, they're going to be 4-4 or 5, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now we're going to ramp it back up here. You know what I mean? That you kind of tailor that whole year. And that's my advice to people, is look that up, find out how the best way to kind of tailor or microcycle your year.
Come up with a plan. And this is like, how great is it when a parent comes up to you and be like, hey, what can we do? Or even better if the kid, but some of the kids are young, it's, what can we do? What does he need to work on? What can I do over the course of the next month or a couple weeks, whatever? But how many parents come in the morning and they're like, make him sweat. He's got to sweat. I want him dripping when he comes off. Like, you can find a lot cheaper ways to just go make your kids sweat. Like, there's no games in any foreseeable future right now, no tryouts, we have no dates, nothing. Why not use this time to just, and that's what, I'm sure there's lots of people out there that are doing it, but our goal getting on the ice with these young kids is not like get a ton of reps and get them moving, but like not just like make sure they're gassed.
Yeah.
Make sure they're absolutely gassed when they get off. Like, no, if the kids that need to work on stopping, let's get them better on their edges and stopping or shooting or whatever it is. But let's use this time to help the kids, like you're saying, actually get better at their skills.
Yeah.
And now it's tough for parents that can't see them. This is the other side of it. As much as I said, like, hey, it's great, not great, but the kids are awesome out there. No parents, it's okay. It is tough for those parents that are, kind of watching and looking. Yeah, I that's part of it. Like, I'd love to be able to see my son or daughter out there so that I could say, oh man, they're turning the same way every time. Like, if you're not in the rink, I get it. It's tough. You can't see that.
It's a good point.
That stinks. You want to see, like, coach keeps telling him to turn one way and he turns the other way because that's his strong side. So that's the negative side, the crappy side, that they're not getting to see that. But I guess that's where you can go to someone that does this and say, hey, what do I need? We'll always help.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you got to have trust. If you're going to, right now it's a little bit more expensive because some rinks have jacked ice prices, or you don't have as big numbers on the ice, or however it all works out. But having trust in that skill coach that you're working with, that they're doing a good job. Ask there's nothing worse than your kid coming home from school and like, hey, what'd you guys do today? What'd you learn today? Like, nothing.
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you do on the ice today? Nothing. Like, what'd you guys learn? Nothing. So if they don't know what they've done, I get some young kids are going to say it all the time, but have that dialogue with your young player and ask what they worked on or what they were doing, or talk to the skills coach. Hey, what are you guys working on today? I'm not sure. I got a couple of drills in my pocket here. Like, and some of the stuff we see in our area, it's unbelievable. Like, it's disgusting, and parents are paying for this. And I know they can't watch right now, but these people didn't just start at the pandemic. They've been doing this for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like, it's been the same. So you're spending the money on this. What do you get out of it? And if it is a sweat and it's a bagger, go. It's hot outside right now. Go run in the parking lot. Do sprints in the parking lot. You get more out of that than getting bag skate on the ice right now.
For sure.
And I think that's a big thing for parents and players as well. Like, what am I doing? Like,
but you keep saying ask, like, and you say, ask your son, like, what'd you learn today? They say nothing. Sometimes they're kids are kids. I had a mom call in the last week or so that, got a message. Hey, can you give me a call? My son was out with you. No problem. She's like, yeah, I asked my son how he did. And he didn't like it because he said you had told him to slow down. And I'm like, no problem. Like, okay, talk it through. I'm like, totally said to slow down. We were working on backwards crossovers at the time, and he only likes to cross over going one way. So I kept saying, slow down, keep working on that habit. But for a parent to call and say, this is the info I got, I can't be in there, no problem. Love my phone to ring like that. And they were like, I figured it was something like that. Just wanted to double check. You're totally right. Even in games, they always cross over just the one way. When it's a defenseman that's going backwards, they really have trouble crossing that left foot. That's a great productive conversation. Now that mom goes back to her son and says, no, that's important. You got to slow down before you can. Nobody gets better at skills at any age, 7 years old or 27 years old, going 100 miles an hour at first. No, you have to slow down. You have to figure the skill out. Now those pro guys are gonna like do it once or twice and then boom, they're flying right away. But if you don't slow down and figure out what's happening and how to do it, then it's not gonna get better when you go fast. But it's kind of off the topic. But just for parents, ask.
I think it's
ask
for sure.
So
and I think like having parents like that ask those questions. Yeah. Because how often does the story get twisted a little bit by a 4, 5, 7, 10, 12-year-old even, right? And if you trust that skills coach again, then give them that opportunity, because how many times is that call not made and mom's like, oh, this program's brutal.
Or worse, on social media.
Yeah. They want him to go slow.
Yeah. They want him to go slow, before saying, hey, why did you ask my son to slow down?
Yeah.
And we've had that happen. So asking is
well, on that topic. So, and also to preface this, to go back here a little bit, but there's a lot of great skill coaches in our area as well. There's just a lot. There's a lot. So I think as a parent, be selective, do your homework, right? Find out, ask questions and find out who's doing what you want specifically. If you want a bunch of edging, then maybe X, Y is good. If you want a bunch of stick handling and shooting, then maybe so-and-so is really good at that. If you want a good flow practice and just going through a bunch of drills, and maybe this coach is good at it. But ask those questions, and I think that's obviously really important. But going back to the whole social media and things like that, one thing I noticed over the pandemic was, how many families, parents, I did like posted the odd thing here and there, but there was posts and posts and posts upon posts upon posts about everything that everybody was doing. You know what I mean? And I think I don't think it's terrible. I just think sometimes that maybe needs to be tailored back a little bit, right? And are you exposing yourself if you're an older person or like an older player, or are you exposing your son or daughter too much? Is there a sense of privacy? Because at the end of the day, I think a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old doesn't understand social media, doesn't understand that this stuff's there forever. Someone's gonna you're gonna see it at 17 years old and then on a junior team, like, hey, check out Charlie when he was 7. Look what he had. That's gonna come up probably because that's gonna be out there forever, right? So I think as parents, we got to be a little more responsible on this kind of stuff. I know we're proud of our kids, don't get me wrong, but probably don't have to post every single thing that they do, and I think that's an important lesson for parents, number one. And then also too, like the comments, man. Sometimes you see some of the comments on this stuff and maybe you're jabbing the dad or maybe you're jabbing the mom, but at the end of the day, like there's a young kid in that post that you know what I mean? That's part of that whole thread, right? So being a little bit more conscious about that kind of stuff, I think is huge.
We're not going to go into it. And for anyone who either agrees or disagrees with what you're saying, I 100% agree. There's a podcast called very big, called Armchair Expert. There's the head of the top guy at Instagram, was on there, and you should go listen to it because he talks exactly about this. Dak Shepard, yeah.
That's
awesome.
A great podcast.
And he just scrolled down. It was during the quarantine, like right at the beginning, and it was the head of Instagram, and he talks a lot about that stuff and parents and what they should be posting. And this is basically the guy his job is running this, saying like, whoa, just tailor what you're putting on, you know, and it's really, really good. So anyone who's interested in hearing more about that, I can't remember his name offhand, but go check it out because it's really, really good and has some really good advice for how to limit or, how to obviously post, but like how to just manage what's going out and what your kids are going to want out there when they're old enough to see it themselves. And talks about like when to let them have their own workout. It's really, really good. So do that. You should definitely check it out. But
because I don't know, man. I would love my kids to, and we posted stuff on our kids. Like there's no, I'm not hiding that's out there, but I'd like my kids to have their own identity when they choose to have their own identity. If there's a picture of them swimming or whatever, like that's whatever it is, what it is. But I think that's really important to let them create their own profiles. Let them when it's appropriate time for that to happen. But there's some kids that are out there a lot. And kids I don't even know. I just see their posts coming up all the time, right? And there's there's a lot of stuff out there with these young boys and girls. And I know some of the kids are into it now because even my kids are young. Like, oh, Dad, are you going to post that on Instagram? I'm like, no, I'm not posting that on Instagram. Well, can we? I'm like, no. Yeah. They don't even know really what that means or what that is, right? Yeah. But I also think that Instagram and Facebook and stuff are good vehicles as well, because if you're, for us, for instance, our families are all away. So it's a great way to like send pictures quick, or they can see what we're up to and things like that, but again, being appropriate with it, not being too over the top. And then also too, I think not being that parent that's a little bit too proud maybe, or a little bit too in your face about how good my kid is or how good my son or daughter is at whatever, karate, water polo, it doesn't matter what it is, right? I think that's, what kind of message are you sending? If you're posting every second day about your kids riding horses, washing the horse, clean, like all this stuff, it's like, well, I don't know. It's that whole image, right? So I think it's something that we got to be conscious of as parents for sure.
And this is a hot button issue. Like there's for sure people right now that are shaking their head, and there's for sure people that are vigorously like about to turn this off. And that's okay. It's okay to disagree on, everyone gets to do their own thing. It's just an opinion, but I very much, But
even some of those people that maybe think this is ridiculous and I can post whatever I want, so that's fine. But if I met them in a parking lot and we had a conversation for 10 minutes, and the whole 10 minutes, I just showed them pictures of my kids from my phone, how good he was at this, how good he was at that. And then they rebutted by saying, oh yeah, we were at a tournament last week. Oh, we were at that tournament the year before. My kid won in, like, this happens all the time. Where you're having a conversation about the weather. Like, it rained yesterday, and guess what? Little Johnny's outside shooting pucks. Like, everything flips back to little Johnny or little Sarah, right? So that person would be super annoyed with me after 10 minutes of me just showing my phone, showing them pictures, check, check out the golf swing, check, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Like, now I can choose not to look at it on Instagram or block that person or not, not follow them. That's, which everyone has liberty doing that, but you're doing the same thing. I mean, there's people I've had to unfollow because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't even look at this anymore. It's so ridiculous. Every day, I don't need to know what you're doing every single day, And so I think, again, like, and these are adults. These are not the kids. So I think as adults, come on, man.
Not to mention, there is massive, I wasn't aware of some of this stuff, but massive privacy issues posting every day in terms of where you're at and when your house is empty. And like, it's crazy how, and these are things that I learned from that podcast I listened to, but like.
That's so true, actually. For those psychos out there that are tracking stuff like that.
100%. You got crazy neighbors or criminal neighbors, who knows? Like, bad kids on your street.
Just
like,
checking your feed every day.
You know what I mean? I know that we're being like ridiculous and kind of joking right now, but
worst case scenario.
But man, like even posting while you're on vacation, terrible idea. Like now you're alerting everyone their house is empty, So there's some big, not to say don't do it, just
maybe wait to get home.
Wait, and then when you get home, instead of doing every day, just grab like 3 pictures, and then you're done.
Yeah, some good ones, some nice ones. Grab the best ones.
But no, I agree. It's a little bit much.
Yeah,
so.
it's crazy.
It's different for me because my kid really is the best. And
well, the whole reason why I brought this up, so I really wanted to kind of address the issue of you posting your son's pictures every day on how he grew like every single day. Now, kind of, I don't want to kind of move away basically from the whole minor hockey stuff, but as far as the NHL and kind of what you're seeing right now, how have you found the play at the NHL level? So for a bunch of pro athletes who've been off for 3-4 months, obviously they've been training and kind
first of all, just like how great is it just to have it on TV? Like just
how cool is it to have like 5 games a day?
So cool,
right?
I would never have guessed that I'm a bit old school and like traditionalist with some things, and I would never have guessed that it would have been this cool and this much fun. And just like, I even love some of the small things, like their video and the guys walking out of the change room, like in between periods, and the next team's bags are like sitting on a big cart waiting to go, just like a minor hockey tournament. You know what I mean? Like they're waiting for that room to get empty. And like some of those little things I think are so cool. And I think the NHL production wise with the networks and the camera angles they're getting now with no fans and things like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know, it's cool.
And it's probably a little bit different for those guys actually in there. You hear stuff about some of the noise being, applause and noise that we don't even think about it being fake, whatever. I don't know, but it's probably different when you're actually right in there. But when I see a goal, an overtime goal, whatever, I don't get any less excited because there's not fans banging on the glass.
Yeah. Again,
different maybe for those guys there, but as a fan watching, which is, let's be honest, a large part of why the NHL is back is because of TV rights and, that whole deal. So
for sure.
This is very much for the NHL as a whole. They didn't come back for the players. So the players could crown a champion this year. You know what I mean? They came back for the hockey as a whole, which I think was the right, they made the right call. It's great. But I love it. Like, I don't think anything was taken away from the viewers at all.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's games spread out and they're all day, it's great.
Yeah, especially if you're a hockey fan, like you're gonna get a fix here over the next month of just game after.
And this
game
is first round of playoffs is always the best time of the year to watch hockey. Those 2 weeks, there's like, now normally it's not games at 12. They don't start at 12 or 1 or 2 in the afternoon, but you get like 4 or 5 games a night. Crammed into those couple hours.
Yeah.
Right now they're spread out. So there's basically always just like one, maybe a little bit of an overlapping game between the East and West. These are the best 2 weeks of the year. They've always been that way. And they're even better right now because the games are kind of all day, especially for those people that are still at home. And we got an extra, 2 weeks of it because they did the qualifying and the round robin games.
Yeah, it's true.
So there was, 4 or 5 games a day for like basically 3.5 weeks probably. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool, and I think the quality of play has been pretty good, man.
I ignored that.
No, but I think overall, like, there's been some sloppy games, some bad games, especially at the beginning. But I mean, 5 overtimes the other night. Like, there's been some real good back and forth comebacks in the last 4 minutes, like exciting hockey. That
I think those guys aren't excited to get back into it. Like in the qualifying round, a week and a half ago, there was fights in the first period of one of the first games. Like they went just full out, like they've been playing all year.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. Now, did notice a difference, which rightfully so. I'm sure they're in the dressing rooms, like the guys that were qualifying to get in the playoffs versus the round robin games, just trying for seeding, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Definitely a difference in those games, which makes complete sense.
For
like,
sure.
you know, guys were playing the qualifying games like it was, which it was playoffs. It was do or die every night.
Yeah.
Like, it was unbelievable. Those round robin games were a little less like torpedoing your body, you know, in front of pucks or at each other, which absolutely makes sense. But just goes to show you the difference. Like, you know, normally you watch the season and then you watch playoffs, you're like, holy, this is night and day. You could actually see the difference from watching one game to the next game, which I thought was kind of cool.
For sure.
You know, last week, but
even as a player, you see like in those just the round robin games, so basically somewhat meaningless games.
Yeah.
No one wants to get hurt.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to just like get some touches, get some feel, get it back underneath you. Where the qualifying games, like you're playing for something, so it is different. But even you look at in a regular season, a normal year, you look at game 75 to 82, depending if you're in a race for the playoffs, right? Those will be a little bit more meaningful games. But overall, you've got your seed. You know, you've clinched. Those games,
bunch of teams are out of the playoffs.
Yeah, those games are okay. You may get the odd good one, heated a little bit, but overall, it's just kind of mail it in. Let's get to playoffs, and then all of a sudden, to your point, that first playoff series starts. That first game, like, whoa, this is crazy. And playoff hockey to me is like nothing else. It's unbelievable, man. Just because everything matters. That little chip that you missed, that little, you know, that little play that you made that got picked off, that hit that you missed, like all those things matter, you know, and anything can be turned into something, right? So I think it's really, it's just so much more meaningful. And even playing as a player, when I played, I loved playoff games. I love that. That's what I lived for, was playoffs. Like regular season, I enjoyed. I like practicing, I like playing. But man, when I got into the playoffs at any level, it was like, let's go. It was the best. Like, yeah, it was awesome. It was so good.
I agree, and it's honestly like we kind of said this like during quarantine when you had somewhere to go, start going again. You were so excited. Now you like have something to watch.
Yeah,
like, there was almost you know, there was a couple things, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
So
no, it's cool. Why? Yeah, I don't even think I've watched 20 minutes of cable TV. Like nothing. No. It's been all Netflix or, you know, now obviously hockey and stuff like that, but there's been zero. Like zero. It's been movies, Netflix, YouTube, whatever. But yeah, it's crazy how things have shifted, right? Back in the day, that's all that people would watch, just network TV, and now it's. I'd love to see what the time share is between that and, you know, the apps and the Amazons and the Netflix and stuff like that, because it'd be crazy.
Unbelievable, right? And now that there's way more of them, there's Disney, there's all kinds of different stuff. Think about when you were a kid, like how excited were you for commercials? Like not commercials, sorry, like cartoons, commercials, the whole bit. You didn't know any different. Like think about what kids have now. They're actually making a choice between apps. Yeah. They're like, you know what I mean? No, I'm watching Disney today. Like I don't know. I don't have kids that age, and I don't even have cable, right. But like my kids are going to grow up like that. Like I can't see myself getting cable. I don't know that I would now ever again, unless I know things go in waves. So maybe, you know, it changes.
I can't see it coming back though.
Maybe it does, but like my kids are going to grow up on apps. Yeah. I don't know. The show and the 2 episodes I want to watch are on Disney right now, or they're on the movie I want to watch, or they're on Netflix. Like that is just crazy. So
remember, like, you know, you loved Batman, let's just say, and that was on at 9:30 in the morning on Saturday, so you had to be ready at 9:30, right?
Yeah.
Where now you're right, you go to Netflix, there's like a screen full of pick what you want. And we were doing movie night during this whole thing. My kids and my wife would go golfing with some of her friends, and then the kids and I would get dinner and then do movie night, right? So during the day, we talk about it a little bit, like, we want to watch Lego, this or whatever. I'm like, cool, man, let's do that. Never was the movie that we watched. Yeah. Because, you know, back in the day, we would walk down to Blockbuster, grab that movie, went, you know, now it's like, we're looking for Lego. I'm looking for Lego in the thousands of, and that one. And then they just start going off on and then all of a sudden we're watching, you know, whatever, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever.
If your show was on at 9 and you had a meltdown at 8:50 and you got sent to your room, or you know what I mean? Like you missed it. Now they come back, they're like expecting, like, no, I know it's there. Like liar, I know it's there. And
I'll check it out tomorrow.
It's another meltdown because they know it's still in, you know, on Netflix. Like they didn't miss it. But think how much you learned about like
totally. You had to wait another week or next Saturday because you missed it. Yeah. No, that's so true, man. All right, okay, last couple things. So playoffs are on. who's your horse for winning the cup?
Oh my goodness.
Give me two teams that you're like, because right now, I asked this question today when I was on the ice with a couple of the junior guys, and I had, Colorado for one. I had Carolina. I had, who else? Philly. But those are teams like Carolina. I don't think anyone would have picked them like in a regular season, even if they made the playoffs to win the cup, right? Now they're a great team, don't get me wrong, but Philly, same thing. Now they were hot. They look really good right now, but I don't know. It's kind of open season, really. And even after the first round, like I thought Edmonton might advance. They didn't. I thought Toronto had a good chance of advancing. No. Yeah. There's a couple.
I think Toronto and Edmonton were both 5th place teams.
Yeah. Yeah, they were, yeah.
Toronto and Edmonton, I think, were both 5th. Or maybe Toronto was like a 6th or actually they couldn't have been because Pittsburgh was because I know Montreal was 12th. But
like, come on, Pitt, Montreal, like there's no
and
way.
as much as like I'm a Crosby fan, I love, the whole ambassador to the game thing and everything. Like I'm excited to see. I don't care really I do kind of care. I more care about which teams aren't there. Like I want to see some new teams in the playoffs. Like again, much like Pittsburgh, like I'm okay watching some new teams. Do I want to really watch Carolina or the Islanders? No, but at least there's some new teams. I'd love to see Philly in there. It's been I know they lost whatever it was 6-7 years back to Chicago in the finals, but they're a good mix of like they got a young goalie, they got some young fresh players, they got some veteran guys that would be awesome to see them win. Like I think they'd be a great team to see, for another couple rounds. Even a team like Dallas, that we don't see a lot. Normally those Southern teams, like we don't see them or not Southern, but like some of those teams like that we just don't see on national broadcast very often. Like that would be awesome to see somebody like that in the West. Colorado would be great again. Like some pretty high profile, like high end talent there. So that would be exciting to watch for the next. Like I think about it, like who do I want to watch for another month?
I know
every
that's
second
thing,
night,
right? Yeah,
every second night for the next month. Like the Islanders. Like I know Barzal's awesome, but not exciting. For to watch for me. So that's more of what I think. I mean, obviously it's the Hawks are going to win it, so it's non-conversation, but
they like throwing up the first game though, right? Just kind of feeling out the water. It's like a chess match for them, right?
Yeah. I felt bad, man. Like I'm not a Leafs fan. I would have loved to have seen them go on, get a chance to play. Edmonton would have loved to have seen them play. Just you got the best player in the world, maybe the 2 best players in the league this year, that are out of the playoffs already. Like I like seeing the best players get a chance to. But when you look at
win, when you look at like an Edmonton, Toronto, and let's say Columbus, Carolina, okay, those 4 teams. So put Columbus and Carolina kind of in the same boat, and then and you could probably throw the Islanders in there and some other teams, and then put Toronto and Edmonton kind of in the same boat. Toronto, Edmonton, like high skill, top 6 are really good, bottom 6 are decent, like real good depth, real good skill, back ends decent, okay, couple good horses in the back end, but we got Riley, Nurse, things like that. But they've got a couple tough players. I don't mean fighting, but like to me, Toronto is just no jam when it comes down to it. Now you look at Columbus, like I feel like that team parties together, hangs together, they take bullets for each other. You know what I mean? They would go to war for each other. Carolina, I get that same vibe. They get some high end skill. They got a little bit of toughness. Guys play hard for each other. They'll block shots. They're team tough, right? Where Toronto could be team tough. Like they're all men. They're all, you know what I mean? They can be, but they're not team tough at all. I find there's a lot of it like, and I feel the same way with Edmonton. I don't find they have that team toughness. I don't find they have that, like, they got a couple tough guys on that team. Don't get me wrong, but I don't find they have that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through the wall. I'm blocking this shot. I'm going to take this hit to make sure I get the puck out. Like I just don't find when it really gets tough, you know? And that's where you saw Columbus win that last game. It was just, they just worked.
They wanted it.
They blocked, I want to say there was like maybe 30 shots, 35 shots on net, and they blocked like, on top of that, they blocked like another 20, 25.
It's crazy.
So like, those are the things to me that are missing. And then you look at teams that won the cup, like in the last couple of years, like St. Louis, come on. Like those guys love just being around the boys and partying and doing, not even necessarily partying, but just like, Washington, same thing. Like they had some toughness. They played hard together. They had some high end skill, but they had mixed in, like they had some guys that played hard and played tough, and
Okay, so I see what you're saying. Now let me ask you a question. Let's look at I'm going to look at that a different way. So you have some teams like Pittsburgh, Toronto, Edmonton, who would have most likely been in the playoffs, the actual playoffs, if the season would have continued. So there's some people out there that aren't looking at like the team and the makeup of the team. They're just saying this is like the NHL coming back and doing it this way is, it doesn't make sense. I don't look at this like a Stanley Cup with an asterisk. I think it's a Stanley Cup. I think all these teams are going through the exact same situation. So it's the same for all of them. I think it's fine. But my question to you is, with these, fifth place team, so Montreal and Montreal and Chicago were both 12th place teams. They both went on. So Pittsburgh and Edmonton and Toronto, whatever they were, 6th, 7th, teams like that aren't going to get in the actual playoffs now. Do you look at this like, oh, it's because of the way the league did it? It's stupid that they did this, or do you blame the team?
100% the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a chance just like everyone else. Can you even look at those teams and say they did everything they could? You're saying right now, you just got done saying, no, they didn't.
Yeah. And even look at Pittsburgh when they won their back-to-backs and they've been an awesome team for a long time. Tell me if you went in a back alley and stuff went down and you and on your side was Crosby, you don't think that guy would throw with you?
Yeah.
100%. Now, would Malkin? Yeah, 50-50 on that one, right?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Right? So, those are the things Crosby's a warrior. He is a hard, and then you put a couple other guys around him, like Kunitz, and these other guys are just, they'll play hard, right? Collins, all these guys, or Collins, sorry, but man, now all of a sudden you've got that team toughness, right? And Malkin's unbelievable, but I don't see McDavid being a guy maybe he works hard, he competes, but but you don't have to have everybody that's team, but you need a good core of probably 7, 8 to 10 guys that are we're going to war, man. We're going to war and we're going to play and I got your back, But look at down some of those rosters, and if you kind of know the team well and you like the team, ask yourself that. If I was in a back alley and it was me, 4 guys against me and one other guy, and put Austin Matthews on my side, is he going to jump in for me? 50-50. Might grab his cell phone, call somebody. Nylander, he's running. For sure he's running.
He's running, yeah.
You're
the
one
other
on,
way, yeah.
Yeah, you're one on 4 now, right? So Marner, I think he would. I think he'd poke a guy's eyes out and bite a guy. I think,
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what you're saying about these guys do everything together. You say partying or they, whatever. If something's going down, they're a team, Yeah. There was that crazy story about St. Louis. Now, this was last year, just being they were such a tight-knit team. When they were last place, whatever, I don't remember the date of the season, November or whatever, they were last place in the season. The GM comes in and says, listen, we're going to have to trade guys. We got 2-3 weeks and we're going to start trading guys. So you look beside you, you know what I mean? Look to your left, look to your right, or this is not quoting. This is just kind of the paraphrasing kind of what he said. Have you heard this before?
And he
said basically look to your left, look to your right. One of those guys is going to be gone, within the next 6 weeks if we don't start winning. And that's a team that was just well, man, I don't want that guy gone. That's my roommate. That's my buddy, whatever. And
there's a couple of things that happened though too, right? So there was that, because I remember hearing bits and pieces of that. There was the fight in practice,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then I'd heard that they had all gone out at one point together in that bar with their song and all this stuff, right? So there was a culmination probably over the course of a month where, and I mean, why do teams have rookie parties at the start of the year, right? It's a glorified way of saying, boys, we're going out for dinner as a team. Everybody,
if it's done the right way,
I know Johnny never comes out for dinner with us when we get places. He just wants to go to the hotel, which is fine. But everybody's out on the rookie party, right? So it's one of those things. Why do teams love a good little road trip at the start of the year, 3, 4, 5 days? Get out for team meals. Get out with the boys for a little bit, right? And that's how teams get together. So whether you drink, don't drink, doesn't matter. But you're having fun. You're telling stories. And the one thing with booze. That is not, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but guys loosen up a little bit. Guys will tell more stories. Guys will get a little more relaxed, and you see it, man. I've been a part of tons of team boozing fests, and it's, you get into better conversations, you get into better jokes, you get into all that. And I'm not saying you have to do that. That's not what I'm saying, but that's how teams get tight. That's how teams, by being together, by hanging out,
even there was some stuff that's coming out more and more every year about, at first the teams didn't want to go to Europe to play, 1 or 2 games at the beginning of the season.
All begging.
Well, some of them, and even there were some guys on Philly that came out this year that were we spent whatever it was to start the season. We spent 8-9 days together eating every day. Like there's no families, a couple local, there's always a couple local guys that are from that country, but like they're on that long plane ride. They're just in the hotel. They're hanging out. They're eating. They're sightseeing on their days off. Like it's just like 8-9 days together to start the season, which I think there's going to be more and more teams trying to be, Philly was one of them this year. And that, not to say that's the reason they're so strong this year.
Tell me that team doesn't seem like they like each other.
Yeah, 100%.
To me, that's another team that's got team toughness. Like, even a guy who we know obviously and stuff, but like that back alley comment again, if I'm in a back alley, like would I want Travis Konechny on my side?
For sure.
100%. He might grab like a rock or something and throw it at the guy, but
but he'll
he's
be there
in,
for you.
man.
Yeah. He's not
like,
taking off.
No, and that's like, I look at Philly and that's what I see. I see that team toughness. I see those guys that want to play for each other, that'll block a shot for a buddy, that'll, take a hit to make a play. Like,
but will this funnel down to like, I know we're talking, we keep saying partying. It's not just about drinking and these guys are in the NHL, they're doing different stuff, but do these kind of things translate to kids, to junior age kids, minor midget kids that are trying to get drafted? Yes, 100%. Do scouts look at, are you going to be the guy that's there for the guy next to you?
For sure. And you can see that clear as day in their play.
Totally.
And if you don't believe me, like look at how Nylander plays the game. Crazy skill, real good player. Love to have him on your team. Not a chance I'd want him on my team in the playoffs. Like there's no way, right? And even look at like a Goudreau, who's a small guy, or like a Marchand. Like, take Nylander, Marchand. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Nylander's way more skilled, younger, quicker, way better hair, way better nose.
But even take off like 25 points, 30 points off Marchand every year, still take him.
100%.
Still take him.
Yeah.
And I know his last couple of years, he's had some like top 5, top 3 in scoring. So take that out of it. You're talking about just the intangibles that he brings. I know he crosses that line sometimes and whatever, but he would be there.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he'd 100% be there. And that's, and I think that's a big point. You kind of brushed over it. Like these younger kids, you can see it in your game in Bantam and midget.
You're not fooling anybody.
You're not fighting. Man. I'm not asking you to go out there and fight. If your guy gets cranked, just show up. Don't be the guy skating back for a line change.
Well, just give him a push.
Yeah.
Like just go in the scrum. Mm-hmm. Just bump in there. Put your arms down. Just bump in there by accident. Like pretend like you want to go in there.
And an exact example. Like, okay, there's a shot from the point, and it goes to the net, and there's a guy in front, and there's a little scrum in there, and the guy that's skating to the bench for the change while that scrum is going on is getting noticed more than the guy during the shift that toe dragged and made a sick play to get the shot.
I 100%.
Like he's 100% getting noticed. Like, how are you not looking over your shoulder to make sure that one of your guys isn't getting pummeled or that you can't?
It drives me. I've seen this so often, especially nowadays, because there's not going to be really a fight or anything, but there's a scrum that happens after a whistle in the corner or whatever, and one guy who's their skilled guy is going legit off for a line change. 100% blame the parents and the coach for that. If that's my son and we get in the car after the game, I don't care if he had 4 goals, 3 assists. I'll be like, dude, if there's ever a scrum and you go in there. You don't have to go in flying. You don't just go in. Make sure everything's cool. Yeah. Make sure they're good, and then do not go to the bench, man. Oh. Do not go to the bench. And I think that's like an important lesson. But back to your point about team building and things, or like, can you do that in Bantam? Yes, but again, that comes on to the parents a little bit, but mostly the coaches and that organization, whatever it is, minor like Bantam or whatever. But coaches, assistant coaches, create team environments, create team building things, and it doesn't have to be cost you any money. It could be in the parking lot, it could be whatever, but do that a couple times, 3, 4, 5, 6 times at the start of the year. However you want to do it. There's thousands of ways to do it, but let them get to know each other. Man, you walk in some of these locker rooms right now and it's like you can hear a pin drop, man. No one's talking. Half the guys are on their phones. Like, change that culture a little bit. They got to figure out how to be teammates, how to be a team. And I think that'll go a long way. I had a question just the other day about basically talking about like team toughness, talking about character, things like that. Can you teach that or not? And it's difficult, obviously. I think it starts at 3, 4, 5 years old, just as your environment and how you're raised and things like that. But on a team, you're going to have young guys and girls that have tons of character. They'll go through the wall. They're leaders. They're just naturally, or from their family or from their upbringing, or coaching, whatever. And you're going to have some that aren't. Some that are going to turn and go the other way. But I think that if you have a strong enough core and a good leadership on the coaching, some of these other people that are not, of that character to be a team player and or a team first, not me first, they will just by osmosis start to be more like that a little bit.
Yeah.
Now they may fall out of it next year when they're allowed to do whatever they want again. But if you're a coach that keeps them accountable on making the right play and things like that, it's gonna be very difficult and a lot of like teaching. But I think that you can get those types of players to kind of fall somewhat in line a little bit to play a little bit tougher, to play a little bit smarter, to play a little bit more like a team rather than an individual. But it takes work, right? And I think if you're not putting that work in and having those conversations and talking to those individual players, then you're gonna get what you get. So I think it's important. I think it's on the coaches to follow up with that and make sure that they're teaching that stuff as well.
Absolutely. But I agree. And you say you mentioned saying the coaches, you mentioned the parents, you said your son or daughter, whoever it was, even a daughter can, because we're not talking about fighting, can be there for a teammate. Yes. There's no hitting. Yeah. You can be there for a teammate if something's going on. Like, this isn't limited to just boys hockey. This is the same thing as in girls, but those parents, these are life lessons for somebody. Like, if you're out with the friends at the movies and something happens, you know what I mean? Like, you better be there for your friend. Yeah. If you guys are walking your car in a parking lot and someone's doing whatever, like, you better be there for your friend. Do not leave them out to dry. Yeah. So.
No, for sure. No, I totally agree. No, it's good. So I'm gonna keep obviously getting back on the podcast. We've been going about one a week, which has been good, but it's been all over the place with being back on the ice, which has been busy, and then just obviously the pandemic and different things that have been going on for obvious reasons. But so we'll get back on. I'm gonna try to get obviously you and Wado and those guys back on too, and we'll chat a little bit more about some minor hockey stuff and get in the weeds there a little bit too, and hopefully we get a little bit more resolution or kind of a little bit more of an idea of what's going to happen here with minor hockey. Cause I think it's a lot of the parents too, not knowing what's going to happen. And then even for the businesses out there that are trying to plan development or yearly schedules and things like that, it's sometimes hard when you don't know what's going on or what's going to happen with the minor hockey system. So,
but as like a little bit of a kind of a summation, whatever, for any parents that are out there that are looking, what do we do? There's stuff out there. I know it's hard, it's not the cheapest thing right now. So if you can do it, if you can get on the ice, if your kid wants to be on the ice, get them on the ice and just let them get out there, have fun, get back into it. And if there's 2 or 3 things that they need to work on, mention it, find the right program or right session for them. If you don't know, ask, and these are perfect time to just get them out there. And if you can't get them on the ice, then there's other ask that same, give us a call, give someone a call and ask what kind of things can they do at home. Yeah. We can't get them to the rink, or right now we can't afford to go to the rink. We can't get them to the rink. Whatever it is, there's things you can do at home to, not the best alternative, but they're going to work, whether it's shooting or conditioning, whatever, quick feet, sorry, not conditioning, but quick feet stuff or getting stronger, whatever. Just ask those questions. And this is a time that everyone can get a little bit better and have a bunch of fun while there's no tryouts in hockey. So
yeah, no, definitely. And I think one thing that you mentioned earlier, which I think is really important, is make sure that your son or daughter wants to do it.
Yeah.
Right, because if you're going to be the one pushing it and, hey, did you shoot your 500 pucks today? Or like, that's tough. And that's a grind. That's like teaching your kids math. Like, you're going to be doing it every day and trying to pull it out of them. So hopefully they want to do it. And if they do, then open those doors up and get those resources and make those calls to get those questions answered so that they can obviously improve and get better, But all right, buddy. Well, best of luck with your little man. And we'll chat soon.
A week or two, I'll know way more than I knew today. So we'll be back. More advice.
You're getting so much smarter every day. It's amazing. Awesome.
All right, buddy.
Okay, man. Take care. To kind of raise that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.